The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Hey, guys.
And Mike.
Hello.
And we have another fun-filled episode for you today, guys, today. We're going to actually start off the show with regionals, and then go into community and the Pro Tour. So that's kind of the rough breakdown of everything that's going to happen. Let's go ahead and just go right into regionals. So our personal our personal regionals were obviously run by Comic Town, as we said last week.
Personal regionals.
It was a total of 319 players, which is fairly sizable.
For like what boils down to be a 5K?
Yeah.
It's pretty healthy.
Yeah, it was 9 rounds, and it was won by Jonathan Jackman, playing Red-White in the Red-White Mirror in the finals. So I was pretty happy. That I wish one of them was me, but alas, here we are.
He beat Jack John in the finals.
And really big Jack Johnson, notable songwriter.
And he beat in the semifinals John Smith.
Yeah, that's exactly that's not what happened.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, lists for our regional haven't been posted yet, so we can't really discuss them. But Mike and I both attended. So, Mike, what were your experiences from regionals?
I mean, if I was going to take anything away, something that really surprised me was it was sort of a casual crowd. 319 players, and there were names. I mean, like, you had Dan Musser, you had like Lauren Nolan, you had players that you would recognize. But I went 7-2 playing my version of Jeskai tokens, and my 2 losses came against some pretty rogue decks. I played against a guy, like, I died with Sultai emissaries across the battlefield from me in the Manifest deck, which, I mean, had some sweet synergy, but was definitely not, like, as you're sitting here, it was kind of rough because, like, myself and Brian Keller, who we ran essentially the same deck and worked really hard on a sideboard and tuning, and then got crushed by just outliers, you know what I mean? Like, I actually went 7-0 against decks that you would be like, oh, this is a deck that you would expect in the metagame, and then it was like, oh, but these, like, the one Naya deck I played against had everything, had one of the most complicated judge calls I've ever had to do in a Magic tournament because of this deck. He was playing Deflecting Palm, and I had to figure out how Deflecting Palm stacked when you played a burn spell that wanted to redirect to a Planeswalker.
Huh.
Dave, how would you logically think that works?
I'd have to read Deflecting Palm.
Deflecting Palm is the next time a source would deal damage to you, did deal that much damage to the source's controller.
It's not prevented.
It is prevented. I'm sorry. It prevented, prevent that damage, then deal that damage.
If it's prevented, I would assume... So you're saying, like, redirected to your Planeswalker?
No, to their Planeswalker.
Oh, so you would target it, okay.
So the
if
actual board
it's prevented, I would assume that it would not hit the Planeswalker.
So here's what the original ruling was. In my mind, it was he would target it, but it only prevents it if it deals damage to him. So after he targeted it, then like the way it works on Moto, you get the little bubble that pops up, like, would you like to redirect this? And once it goes to a Planeswalker, it can't be prevented anymore. The first judge didn't think that's how damage worked for Planeswalkers, so that was confusing. And then we went, and I stood by the head judge for, like, I was like, so the ruling was that he could prevent it, but then I would get the choice to redirect it, and it would still kill the Planeswalker. Okay. A couple rounds later, I come back up and I'm actually told that's not how it works. When you have 2 replacement effects happening at the same time, then the person who is the victim of the replacement effects, like the person being targeted with the burn spell, gets to decide how to stack them. If they stack them correctly, Deflecting Palm will work the way they want it to. If they stack them incorrectly, the Planeswalker dies.
Nice.
What a terrible, terrible card.
Yeah.
And it was like a weird interaction. Like, I was sitting there, like, in the tank, and I'm like, Judge, and he's like, did I do something wrong? I'm like, oh no, I just have no idea how these cards work together. And he didn't even have it. It was really sad. Like, I was like looking at Najani, Call of Heroes or whatever it is. Is it Call of Heroes? Is it Caller?
Mentor of Heroes.
Mentor of Heroes. I don't know.
He's a
Call of
caller.
the Pride, mentoring the heroes, avenging things. He's a cat of all trades. But he has that at 4 and a red and a white mana, like a Plains and a Mountain literally untapped, 1 card in hand, and I'm looking at Soak the Flames, and I'm like, I know what's going to happen the second I cast this spell. So it was pretty interesting. So
yeah.
I ended up finishing 23rd. Did pretty well. I had to take down a couple of Abzan aggro decks in the final rounds to get a win on camera, which was kind of cool. Playing against Sultai Control. So it was a long day. The deck was awesome. I'm excited to keep playing it. But definitely, like, the first few rounds were just so many casual decks, so many brews that it was, if you prepared for a metagame, like, I know, and I would know I wasn't the only, like, player who sort of was a victim of, like, random decks in the beginning. So, which is the point of a brew, I guess. So, good on them.
No, I have to ask, against the Abzan aggro decks, did they have Drown in Sorrows in the board?
They did. Or? Both of them did.
And did you just have to play around them, or was it like Monastery Mentor? Did that give you like added resilience?
So like one win each against them was Monastery Mentor fueled, and another one, the other two were just being very careful of Ascendancy and making sure that you could just like survive it, or just being careful with Raising Alarm. So,
okay. Yeah, just wondering.
The problem is that when they commit, like, they have to be careful how they commit to the board, like, even when they're playing Drown in Sorrow, because then, like, they can, like, throw their creatures in front of, like, a Lightning Strike they don't want to, because, like, they can lose their board presence, too. So you can normally, if you're paying close attention to the matchup, you can see how they're setting up for it. You can see how they're, like, sequencing their land drops. You can see how, like if they're, like, how they're, even, like what Scrylands they play on what turn. Like, a lot of the big giveaways has been basic land turn 1, Scryland turn 2. And I'm like, oh, you're purposely not putting, like, a Death Dealer in play. Like, you're like, oh, I just drew this Scryland. I'm like, no, you didn't. You're going to try and Drown in Sorrow me. And then we don't play Hordeling Outburst that turn, and then they wasted their turn 2 not playing their 2-drop, and I get to raise the alarm. So it's a little mind game, but playing the matchup is... You can see it happening.
Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't have a very successful day. I went 4 and 5 on the day, which was
started out so strong too.
I was 3-0. Had some really close matches. Played against some interesting decks, but most of the decks I played against were like real decks. Even my third round win was against Blue-Black Control, which is a bad matchup to say the least. But I think I actually played that match fairly well. Had the right cards and was able to diffuse what he was trying to do early enough for me to take the win in that one. Then I got paired against another fellow podcaster from I believe the Pittsburgh area, and he was playing red-green aggro, and that's a fairly close matchup. And he just had a lot of haste creatures, which in the end did me in. And then I kind of just got paired against the mirror match, and that matchup, as many people who've been following Red White, or at least been following Chris Meter, he made a good tweet. Like the Red White mirror match seems to be very dependent on draws and dice rolls. And I really want to figure out a way to kind of get the edge in the mirror match, but I don't know what that is.
You're supposed to play Magic. It's actually illegal to play dice games.
You know what I mean.
Oh, okay.
So, it was fairly unfortunate. I don't feel that I may have played the best Magic. I was definitely tired from the night before, staying up way too late playing F&M. And then I don't think my deck really worked out for me. Near the tail end, I flooded out a lot, which was fairly unfortunate, and possibly kept some hands that just shouldn't have been kept. But I always feels like I get punished for mulliganing with a red-white.
Some loosey-gooseys.
Not loosey-gooseys necessarily, but just like hands that didn't do anything. Like
some loosey-gooseys.
So like hands, I figure like a loose hand is one with like
5 lands.
Yeah, 5
like
lands.
Seeker of the Way.
Like yeah,
Stoke the Flames or something.
I had a lot of like hands that had a lot of late game spells, but not a lot of early interaction. And I decided to keep those just because I was playing against a slower deck or something like that, but it just did not pan out.
Yeah, red white can definitely get like those awkward draws. I felt like with playing it, like Seeker of the Way is like really your only good like turn 2 play, other than like you have like Lightning Strike or something, but that's not even always good.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like it's kind of awkward because you sometimes get those hands that just don't do anything until like turn 4.
Yeah. So I tried out Outpost Siege. I definitely really liked it. There's some interesting things that did happen, like when I played against the Mirror. Putting Outpost Siege on like dragons makes that matchup like a little bit more awkward, and maybe that's where you get your advantage in that facet, because like he named dragons, and then I have a bunch of creatures, but I also have, like, I don't have a bunch of creatures. I mainly have Ash Cloud Phoenix. That's a really awkward card when your opponent names dragons, because it has how do you say, 1 toughness
against a bunch of Mog Fanatics. Not very good.
Not the best. And like he was able to play me into a game state where like no matter what I did, no matter how I blocked, I was just dead. So like there's no way around it.
Just wait until you get into a position where you both have an Outpost Siege on dragons.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Fireworks happen.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the other regional lists, I did see plenty of Chandras as well. So I don't know if like it's been decided what is the best four drop, or if it's just a combination of the two, or one's better main and then one's better after sideboard. So we'll see kind of how that goes.
I feel like at this point it's clearly Outpost Siege.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I played last time I played Red White. I played Chandra, but it just died all the time. Just didn't do anything. Like Outpost Siege sticks around. It's a lot more resilient.
Chandra continued to be absolutely bonkers for me.
Yeah,
and we played 2 Chandras and no Outpost Sieges. Now, granted, and I think honestly, it surprises me. Like maybe the matches are different for you, but I know like for us, they're playing an Ascendancy deck. They're boarding an Enchantment Hate, so boarding an Outpost Sieges is really rough. And for you, like in the mirror match, I feel like some number of Erase may come in consistently, and like I just feel awkward boarding into it. I really do. Like Chandra always eats 2 spells or an attack and a spell. Like
yeah, I know, but by that same token though, like even. It's not like people are boarding like 4 erases. You know, usually you see 1 or 2
but
in the sideboard.
Like you're making their sideboard card better, like even nominally.
You could go that way with it, but you could also say like you can overload their enchantment removal. So like if they're killing an Outpost Siege, maybe an Ascendancy 6 round.
See, you don't draw. I don't think that deck. You can argue that because that deck doesn't. You know, even with an Outpost Siege, doesn't draw enough cards to say you're going to overload them.
All right.
I mean, Outpost Siege is fine, and obviously you choosing Khans and Dragons are both fruitful in your deck. Where choosing Dragons is not going to happen as often for me.
No,
even in tokens, like there's some sweet board states where it'd be really cool, but Chandra just clears the way. So I don't know. I understand that I come off as biased, like Chandra and I. You know,
you guys go way back.
She my bae, but.
She certainly.
I'm just saying, I played both. Like I played 2 Chandra's main and 2 Outpost Siege. I was way more impressed with Outpost Siege in my limited number of matches with Red White. But
yeah, I mean,
and you've already abandoned that deck, right?
Not because it's not good. I just feel like, much like what Morgan was saying about the mirror, like in the edges, it's really.
The answer is yes, though, right?
Yes.
So the 6 F&M games before he dropped that Dave played with the deck.
Right.
His opinion definitely. You should definitely play Outpost Siege because Dave said so. Just throwing that out there.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
I was really impressed with it. I thought that Chandra would be better, but I was really impressed with that Outpost Siege.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Outpost Siege was bad at all, and I'm not saying that.
I'm actually not saying it's bad either. Like I think the effect is so awesome in red. Like as soon as Chandra's gone, then I will immediately be like, oh, Chandra's out. Sorry, bae, but Outpost Siege, get in here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like you'd have to take a look back at all the times that you had Outpost Siege in games and whether it would have been better as Chandra or not. Like there's some situations where I definitely had 2 Outpost Siege on cons, and I was pseudo drawing 3 cards a turn. That was awesome.
And I'm sure there's situations where you have an Outpost Siege and you brick and you die to Hordeling Outburst tokens.
Probably.
Where Chandra could clear the way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think in the mirror match, again, Chandra shines because there's so many things that it kind of just gives you advantage on, especially with things like Ash Cloud Phoenix being more prominent and things like Hordeling Outburst. And if tokens does start to pick up again, then having it there. So I don't know. We'll have to figure out a mix for it and everything like that. I've been poring over deck lists for regionals and seeing what everyone else in Red White did, but I was glad to see that it did well on the weekend.
So just kind of in a general sense, just from playing in the tournament, did you feel like is standard just still kind of like what we already know that's out there? Was there just like what was the metagame like? Like from what you play against or what you saw of the top tables?
I mean, looking over the deck list that actually top 8'd, it was a lot of what we were expecting to see. But there were some like ones that were like some metagames were taken over seemingly by like Devotion, where there was a lot of top 8s that just had a lot of Devotion, like whether it be mono green or green red. There's some metagames that just had a bunch of control decks. So I don't think that it's sort of a closed environment where you're only going to see a certain amount of decks. I think there is room for innovation, and there's going to be people there's just rotating best decks every week or what have you.
Yeah, like I was just wondering because like it feels like Standard's just been kind of in this like holding pattern since that original weekend for the Star City Open. Like I haven't really seen any like new lists or anything pop up.
But I mean, like you have Teamer Ascendancy, which is still a relevant deck and was at regionals. And
no, I know, but since then, like we haven't really seen anything. Well, we haven't even really had any tournaments.
I mean, that's the real key. I think we haven't had like any real tournaments, and even the ones that have existed, the best of the best weren't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even on the Open Series, like you feel the loss of Tom Ross, of Brad Nelson, of these people who are off of the Pro Tour. So I wouldn't, I think this format is small, like it's short enough. It's going to be such a quick turnaround before, like literally we can start saying like, oh, we're weeks away from Dragons. You know what I mean?
We really are.
Like we're like 3 weeks away from previews or something like that?
Yeah, I don't even think we're, Dragons either release or pre-releases end of March.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably like end of February, beginning of March to start the preview season.
So like we're in a situation where I think people are going to try some wacky things here, knowing a new set's about to come in.
Yeah. Like I'm not saying that there's no room for innovation. It's just like kind of weird because we haven't had results. Like the last pre Fate Reforged, like it seemed like every week there was a new deck on top, and it was just like, oh man, like what's it going to be next week? Where's this format going to go? It was just always ever changing. It feels like this one hasn't been so far, but. There is an Open this weekend, so we'll see what happens.
I think there's permutations of the same archetypes. Like if you look through all the top eights, like I don't think any list is exactly the same unless like two players played the same exact list and top eight at the same event. But if you go from event to event, there's minor changes in each of the lists, which I think is important still. So. But yeah, I think regionals is fun. It's just another like filler Star City Games tournament, like states, and that's fine. I mean, I'm okay with having another premier level tournament, especially one in our backyard. So, states technically isn't that far away either. When you look at it, it's in April.
Isn't it modern too?
There's standard and modern.
Star City is modern states.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do also want to point out, Star City actually did a video. They took some footage for our FNM at Comic Town and on the day Saturday, and I did an interview along with a number of other players. So maybe when you're watching the stream here in the next few weeks, you're gonna be like, we want to show you this ad for regionals, and I'm gonna be there being like, yeah, man, regionals is so cool.
Yeah,
and then that's it.
Yep, probably. Well, let's move on. We'll go into the community aspects of the Pro Tour pretty much. So the first thing to really kind of touch on here is there were some changes. So Helene Bergeau was a guest on the stream, and there's basically going to be changes to the World Magic Cup and World Championship. So I'll break down the changes here real quick. So for the World Championship, the 2015 World Championship will be the last year that the World Magic Cup team winning captain is awarded an invitation to the World Championship. There will no longer be an invitation for the Rookie of the Year. They will get auto gold status for the next year instead. I
think that's better.
Yeah, I think that might be better.
Well,
we'll have to ask, Rip Rez Jr.
So, yeah. Is it okay if we just stop here for a second?
Yeah.
All right. First off, with the first point that you made with the World Magic Cup winning captain making it, I always thought that was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
In the first place that they got to do it is because like, oh yeah, we won a team event, but yeah, only I'm going to the World Championship. See you guys. See you suckers. So that always seemed really awkward. So I'm actually okay with that.
Right.
But the Rookie of the Year slot, I don't really like that change, to be honest with you. And here's why. Matthias Hunt actually made a good point on Twitter about how in most years, I think last year was the first year where Ray Perez wasn't gold already to get it. But like in most years, you have to get gold to win Rookie of the Year anyway. So it's like you're giving them something that in most cases they're already going to have.
Now when so you do have to get gold. How long do they maintain gold status though? Don't you have to
for the next year? For
the next year, here you don't have to keep accruing pro points or anything like that.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, if you get it, it's for the whole next season.
So my assumption there, though, is like even then, like, so the goals for the next year. So my assumption they can start pushing Pro Tour invites. So I think they'll probably end up help, even if they're already gold. They can start pushing Pro Tour invites, so they can stay on the chain or the train longer.
Right.
I think this is sort of interesting because we've seen, and on, you can say, hey, hashtag thanks Jared Betcher, whatever you want to say, but we've seen some players who've had some pretty meteoric rises through the Open Series and then the GP circuits and through the Pro Tours. I look at a player this weekend. Who's the person? Justin Cohen. In the finals. And this, understand, I'm not suggesting anything about Justin Cohen, but when you see a player who's first Pro Tour and it goes to the finals, and in this digital age where we've seen a lot of cheating happen, I don't blame Wizards for making it so that it's less likely they'll be embarrassed again. Because that was embarrassing. And that's not their fault that it was embarrassing. But this is them saying, if that happens again, we can quietly say, get out of here, as opposed to him being like, oh, he gets an invite to this tournament. Oh, LOL, you know what I mean?
Guess not.
Yeah.
So I think when you see this rise of these players and, the ability to, in the case of Betcher, sort of, better cheating than good, you know what I mean? Or both, you know what I mean? So maybe it's not fun, maybe it's more enjoyable to see, because Rookie of the Year going to the World Championship is sort of that dream scenario, right? Where you're like you start doing well and you do this and you get to go to the World Championship, but at the same time, I think it probably will save them another headache down the road.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I could see that. And then
It's not exciting by any means.
No.
Like, it's sort of depressing to even consider, but
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add in that though Ray didn't have gold status, they retroactively gave it to Ray, so he's now gold.
Man, look at that.
Cool.
Man, he's getting all the value.
Jeez.
All the free rolls, yeah.
So his hashtag thanks Jared Betcher is a lot different than our hashtag thanks
That's
Jared
very
Betcher.
true. He has a lot to be thankful
It's
for.
much closer to the hashtag blessed.
So continuing on, a new slot was added for players that for the player that earns the most pro points from GPs in that year, I assume.
Yep.
Okay,
And that's uncapped.
correct.
Yeah, so I mean, the way that they do GPs now is they take, I think it's your top 5.
Yeah,
Right,
it's your top 5 performances.
Right.
So you can just keep rolling them for this queue, for this slot, basically.
Yeah, so the idea is that basically, if you think you have a chance, you could keep attending GPs instead of like Huey last year, where he just had,
just kept
he had
rushing.
to like win the tournament
Right.
just to like do better. It's like,
I feel like this is like a direct shout out to like Brian Kibler, who's like, I really want to get back in the. It's like, well, here's the carrot, buddy. Just keep playing Magic. Just keep
I
doing
don't
it.
know. I think they're just gonna call this the Christian Calcano Martin Hughes like annual slot.
Annual slot that just always keeps coming
Yeah.
back.
Oh man, I love the Christian Calcana. Oh man, Memorial World Championship slot.
All right.
You get like a little belt with his like face on it. Just
Yeah.
like
A few to the next point. A few at-large bids have been turned into more regional invitations. North America goes from 2 to 4. Europe from 2 to 3. Japan is now included with Asia Pacific, which goes from 4 total to
3.
3.
Which sounds like a travesty to me. Like I actually don't understand that. Like why?
Why
lose
did they
the
get
slot?
less? That's why I was confused.
Yeah, that one. So the way it was before is Japan had 2, and then Asia Pacific had 2, and now they just lump those 2 together, and now they get 3. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
So-
sure Japan's players are
The math
really
doesn't
excited about that.
The math really doesn't work on that one. So 2 plus 2 equals 3.
Well,
Like,
I'm sure it wasn't Asia Pacific players doing the math on the.
I don't. The jury's out on that one.
Oh, it was funny. Laugh, damn it.
And Latin America still has 2, right? Yeah.
So the Willie Edel Apollo spots.
That's
The Willie Idol PV Memorial
Yeah,
spots
Memorial
are still there.
I think we actually call it the PV sympathy spot at this point.
Oh, that's sad. The PV stops playing Hearthstone for a weekend spot.
He practiced really hard for this Pro Tour, guy.
Oh, he didn't.
I don't know. That's what he said.
Probably not. He's probably lying.
I really tried.
And then the World Championships will be held on a different weekend and location from the World Magic Cup. It'll now be at PAX Prime in Seattle, August 27th through the 30th.
Oh, I think everyone was sort of hoping. Like I know all around here, at least everyone was hoping. It was like
Gen Con?
return to Gen Con. Oh no, as far away from the Midwest as possible. Cool. All right.
Cool. In all honesty, like it's kind of not surprising. Like PAX Prime is already a big event for Wizards, so like why not? Like it's in their backyard. They always do like a panel and the spoiler party and everything like that. So why not just add to it and have some names there, which is pretty nifty.
I was a little surprised by it just because last year they really played up the whole like Worlds Week.
Yeah.
And like that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, but then you had like weird low coverage numbers like, hey, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like they definitely said that they didn't really get to really get into all the storylines and everything because everything was just kind of like one after another. It's like by the end of it, you kind of like forgot the things that happened on day one. So I mean, I get that, but like it was kind of cool that they had like the whole Worlds Week and it was all at the same time, you know, in the same place. And then you had people that were like playing in both tournaments. So you had people like Shahar Shenhar playing on like every day. But this is cool too. I mean, I'm sure it's fine.
I think splitting it up is nicer. Allows you to maximize your viewership. So let's go ahead and go into the World Magic Cup changes. So we have the dates of the World Magic Cup qualifiers. They will be August 22nd through the 23rd, September 5th through the 6th, September 19th through the 20th. No GPs will be scheduled on these weekends. Now there are going to be 2 standard qualifiers and 1 modern qualifier for each country. Yeah, they're kind of throwing some support behind the modern format. I appreciate that. Now, any qualifier that surpasses 9 rounds will run as a 2-day event, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. When I first read this, like 22nd through the 23rd, why we?
Yeah, there's a reason why there's a range there.
It's a pretty high chance that this happens, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, in the U.S. for sure.
Yeah,
we're not going to run any GPs these weekends, except for these little GPs,
these tiny itty bitty GPs. Malta, hey, congratulations! You are eligible to be part of the World Magic Cup. Go you!
Malta has my favorite milk.
I like their milk balls, to be fair.
I'm so glad you followed me on that.
Oh, man. Everyone loves some Whoppers, man.
Whoppers.
We are in no way endorsed by Whoppers.
Can we please be endorsed by Whoppers? Whoppers,
awesome.
Could you endorse us?
Please. Have you?
I will talk a good podcast. Just name Whoppers in my mouth, possible.
To step aside from the podcast, have you guys ever had a Whopper with just the chocolate outside but nothing inside?
No.
It's the saddest thing in the world.
No, I know they had the strawberry milkshake Whoppers. I mean, that's actually one of my thighs. It's actually just from strawberry milkshake Whoppers.
I was gonna say it sounds like the fattest thing ever. But,
Yes, correct. You know that awesome marbling that really like fat legs get? It's actually from all the malted milk balls.
All right, back to the cast. So in order to be eligible to play in a WMCQ or represent country as its national champion, a player must either be a citizen or a permanent resident of that country since January 1st, 2014. And then the World Magic Cup will be held in Barcelona, Spain, from December 11th through the 13th. It's good.
Sounds sweet.
Good thing they had in Barcelona because it's probably going to be warm there in December. So.
Yeah, so it's a little odd that the whole citizenship thing, I don't really know how much different that is from what they have currently, but I'm assuming it's to prevent people from like 1 year being like, oh, you know, I'm going to go for the United States, and the next year I'm going to go for, you know, wherever.
Somewhere else.
Spain.
Try to like snipe smaller country WMCQs to qualify.
What up, Malta?
Yeah. Oh, Malta, that sounds like a nice place
How
to
long
live.
does citizenship take in Malta? I wonder.
Actually, as long as you just sign a pledge saying you always love Whoppers, you're a citizen.
Any fine ladies in Malta?
Oh no, they've all eaten way too many Whoppers.
Well, then never mind.
Don't make me talk about the marbling again. I've explained this.
So
I apologize to all the ladies in Malta. I'm sure you're very attractive.
I'm pretty cool. I want to see where the like actual WMCQs are going to be held because I feel like they're never held anywhere near us in the Midwest, which is always a crime.
Like what Philadelphia is?
Yeah, it's just like you can't just be. There's 3 though, so like hopefully you have East, West, and somewhere in the middle. Like they've run one in Chicago before, I think.
Oh man, nothing like pastimes getting another W.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Beggars can't be choosers. All right. If there is one close though, how game do you think you would be to go?
Oh, I definitely would love to play on one of these. Just like that, I don't know. For me, like I could sit here and say like, oh well, this is okay, but that's like that little kid dream there, where it's just like I'm gonna go draped in a USA flag and play the Hulk Hogan theme song every round, and just like see if I can get on that team.
Yeah, I think that it's like a fun trip to go to because like it's just like a different kind of like tournament. It's a different kind of like winning because like you're not just winning for like your own personal gain. You're winning to be a part of something bigger.
Like you wouldn't even be angry at the guy that won. You'd just be like, you better do well.
Yeah, we're watching you.
Eyes of the world, man.
I think it's pretty sweet. I hope there's one close to us this year. I really do. I'd like to go.
Hear that, Wizards? After Endstuff wants it.
Yeah, we need it.
It shall be done.
Hopefully. So hopefully. The other big announcement, though, that happened was they talked about, the last core set, core set M16, or is it?
Magic Origin.
So this trademark had been out in the wild for a while now, and they thought that it was going to be something like a introductory set to replace
Portal 5.
Yeah, well, they would be replacing another sort of easy access way for people to get to the game. Basically, I forget what they retired beforehand, but it was a way for people to get in the game pretty easily. But it's actually the name of the last core set, and there were some like interesting things that kind of came out of this. So it's July 17th is the release date. It's the last scheduled core set since we are moving to 2 blocks per year starting in the 2016. We'll debut 2 new mechanics, which is pretty big for a core set.
No returning mechanic. Like that's one of the core set's thing is like the major returning mechanic.
Yeah.
Did they say no returning mechanic?
I
know that they said there were 2 new.
I guess they didn't outright say no return, but like that's not the flagship anymore. Like that's when the flagship for the core set in recent years is. Returning mechanic, what can we do with it? Now we have new mechanics.
It's true. It'll be storyline driven, and it actually focuses on 5 planeswalkers. So it focuses on Liliana, Jace, Gideon, Chandra, Nissa. And it sort of focuses on their origins. Well, what a shock there, right?
This is a Magic Secret of the Ooze.
Correct. Was originally announced to have 277 cards. It's been corrected to 272, which is still larger than most core sets, right?
Yeah, there was mention like well before they announced any of this stuff that like there was sort of like, oh yeah, the last core set, probably gonna go out with a bang, right? It seems like they weren't kidding. Just like this is like the quadruple stuffed Oreo. Just get it all in there, just one more time.
So even if you minus, it's usually 20 cards for lands, 4 times 5 lands. So it's 252 cards still, which I think a new normal. I can't remember what a normal.
I want to say normal core set. It was like something like the 220 range, and then minus for lands. So this does feel inflated.
100%. Now, some people also brought up that. So you're saying 277, but it's really like 272, and then you're like, well, there's 5 planeswalkers, and you're the key art that was kind of sort of shared with it was Liliana, the healer, and Liliana, the necromancer, which are 2 different arts. So a lot of people were thinking like flip card planeswalkers.
Man, that's so weird for what is the core set is supposed to be. That like intermediate set. Flip cards like literally in the last few years it's been 2 gold cards, and that's been pushing like gold, 1 gold card for you, and now it's like flip cards. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, figured it out.
Yeah, see. That was the original thought.
Prevailing
of
thought.
And that's no longer what they're doing anymore, which is why they're just doing away with core sets anyway. So I wouldn't be totally surprised by that, and I think like flavor wise, if this is like supposed to be like super flavor set, like I think it'd be awesome to have just legendary versions of the planeswalkers that turn into planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Like,
it's weird because like there's obviously 2 arts that they purchased that they like commissioned, so there's going to be 2 cards in theory, whether it's 1 card, 2 cards stapled together or 2 separate cards. Yeah. I mean, those arts are going to get used. I could see them doing that. It is complicated, and it does disincentivize like new players who want to play without sleeves, I guess. But I mean, you have like the reminder checklist cards.
Yeah.
it could get messy, but flavor wise, it is awesome. And I think like the Vorthos, even if these cards are like complete garbage, I think like the Vorthos and people will be like, yeah, I like this. This is cool. It was cool to see like Liliana as a healer in like a white and green robe, and you're like, that's not Liliana. Like, no.
I thought it was Elspeth when I first saw it.
Yeah.
That's actually, and I was like, oh well, Elspeth was one of the listed ones, so obviously it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Liliana looked like, oh, I could take that girl home to my mother. But no. Turns out that doesn't end very well.
So, can I just point out that the last few core sets, the 5 Planeswalkers in the set, they have taken to San Diego Comic-Con and made into black promos. Could you imagine black flip promos of legendary that turns to Walker? Morgan just started sweating. Like, Ayos míos.
I know if Keller's listening to this, he's like, oh. He's just like, no. Rubbing his temples, like, oh, how am I gonna get these?
Yeah. A lot of people were like, oh, now it's for the core set. Ooh, who cares? But this is interesting, and like this is a Magic Omega, if you will, instead of Alpha. So,
can we also point out that the most enjoyable thing to do here is try to guess what the legendary names are of the.
Oh yes, correct.
So we, your favorite, Morgan?
My favorite, I probably can't say on the podcast.
Ah, you could say it.
No, that's all right. I enjoyed Chandra, who you don't tell what to do. I enjoyed that one.
Was it Chandra the prepubescent?
Yeah. Jace, local magician.
Jace, local magician is very good. It's very, very good.
You can hire him. He's great for kids' parties.
Gideon Street Fighter.
Yeah, he's just wearing like a Ryu costume.
So I think it'd be very fun. You should spend some time coming up with some awesome. Just legendary names. And this is before they were Planeswalkers, so a lot of them, like, if you know their backstories, like, I'm thinking like Elspeth, like, granted she won't be in this set, but it's just like, oh, she was a little girl on Bant and the Phyrexians came, so like Elspeth, who wet herself a lot.
Another fun one is probably Garrick. It's like, Garrick, just a big dude.
Garrick, who loves kitties.
Garrick, local bouncer. Nisa,
a dumb elf.
Nisa, even as a legendary creature, still probably better than Nissa Ravine.
Oh, that's the best.
It's a little wordy, but it makes sense.
Nisa not nearly as good as her chosen.
So the last thing that is important that we talk about, because it's about coverage, Ian Duke, who is the second most known Duke in the Magic community, probably nowadays. I know that he was heavily into the Pro Tour, but now he's a Wizards employee. Obviously Reed Duke's brother was in coverage, and he was good.
He was really good.
He knew what was going on most of the time. I can't say 100%. I didn't watch all of coverage that he was on, but
he could have been sitting there spinning plates and telling knock-knock jokes while talking about it, and still been better than
the Rashad.
Rashad or Randy.
Yeah, it was really brutal when I turned to the coverage, and it was like Randy and Rashad. I was like, I'm not going to know what's going on.
You're going to know more than they do.
I mean, I was listening to coverage mainly.
Which one's
not
the poison
watching,
one?
So.
Is it the Blink-O-Moth or the Ink-O-Moth? Which one is it?
Yeah, it was really bad when like Rashad's like, yeah, he's got that Ink-Moth, the Blink-Moth Nexus, and he's like, this is poison. They don't play Blink-Moth Nexus. Oh,
we could pump the Ink-Moth Nexus, so
it's so good.
No, as I'm watching top 8 coverage, like we had even got some tweets about like what's the over/under on the mentioning Necropotence.
Oh God!
And Randy Bueller just goes right into his story. So there I was, Lake of the Dead in hand, and you could just see
that
like
was unreal. That was like in between a game.
Yeah,
so like I remember I had it on my TV, right? And I got up to like get a snack or something, and I was just like, what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
So you knew what he was talking about. And then he won the Pro Tour.
Yeah, it was because that was his first Pro Tour, and that he won, and he wanted to be like, oh, well, how is this comparatively to someone else who's in this situation? And then it's like, well, I played Necropotence.
Dude, it went like way off the tangent. He was talking about pump nights, and I was just like, what the hell? I don't know.
I just
you see Marshall just like oh, and you're like, that's the laugh of a person who stopped listening. Like your co-commentator is not listening. He is checked out. He does not care about Lake of the Dead. No one does.
That's correct. Only because every time that he's on coverage, I feel like he brings up Necropones.
You feel like it? It's a fact at this point. He can't help himself. He starts getting sweaty, but it's like top 8, and he's like, it's been 3 days on camera, guys, and I haven't said Necropotence yet. So you gotta let me say it. You gotta let me tell just one story, just one time.
You gotta let me prove that I'm still relevant and important. No.
Anyway.
No, Randy.
Anyway, back to Ian Duke. Yeah, he
No,
was
Randy.
very good.
He was good.
Yeah, he essentially replaced Zach Hill is no longer doing the commentary, so
Good.
he kind of inserted Ian Duke in there.
Great.
I'd say.
I approve this change.
He was very good.
He did well. He did very well.
Yes.
So are we gonna get like one trade off per Pro Tour now? Like, we're just like we slowly supplement him in. Like oh, what happened? What happened to Rashad? Oh, he's gone now.
Yeah, but he's on. I believe he's on the development team.
Yeah.
So he has some interesting
Insight.
Insight on that side of it. But also, recently being a Pro Tour player. I mean, him and Reed were both, obviously good enough to make Pro Tours before now. I mean, Reed Duke obviously now is one of the best players in the world, but back when they were like grinders, they were both good enough to make it on their own accord. So
Right. Yeah, so it's great. I hope to see him more in coverage, less the other people, but more him. So, I guess we talked enough about sort of the community aspects of the Pro Tour. Let's actually get into the meat and potatoes, which are, of course, the deck lists and the winners. So, the winner playing Red Blue Splinter Win. Yeah, Splinter Twin. Makes sense. Antonio del Moral Leon was our winner. I believe he is Italian. He was from Italy. He's Spain.
Spain, yeah.
Spain. That's right.
He was Italian from Italy. No, he was Spanish from Italy. Nope, he was Italian from Spain. Nope, that isn't it.
All right. Well, he was Spain's first Pro Tour winner. I do know that.
That is actually surprising to me.
It's super surprising. And yeah, he was playing Splinter Twin. It was less of a controlling build.
This was like all-in combo. Like multiple main deck dispels and just like we're gonna jam the combo and you're gonna die.
Yeah. He in the finals he played against Amulet Combo, piloted by Justin Cohen, and you might be hearing a cat in the background. I apologize. It's incredibly adorable. Anyway, Justin Cohen, Sam Black's roommate, playing Amulet Combo. Yelger Vigersma playing Blue-Red Twin, but more of a controlling build with main deck Blood Moons. Jesse Hampton playing traditional Abzan. Eric Froelich playing traditional Abzan. Seth Manfield playing Burn. Jacob Wilson playing Wilted Abzan, if you will.
Non-traditional Abzan.
Non-traditional Abzan.
Because it's like sad Abzan, like wilted Abzan. Oh.
Well, the Wilt Leaf Lieges, And then Li Shitian playing Burn. So that was our top 8. What'd you guys think of it? Do you think I felt that it was kind of what we expected, Twin being good.
Yes, 2 copies of Burn is exactly what I called the top 8.
Burn is a little out there.
I expected Burn to fall off a little bit because it lost Treasure Cruise. So it was a little surprising. But
I'm sorry, go ahead, Morgan.
I was going to say, but Burn traditionally has a good Abzan matchup anyway.
Yeah.
So if it switches over to Abzan, then Burn's still going to be prominent and good.
And people just didn't prepare for it.
If you look at the metagame breakdown, Abzan was 28% of the field.
Yeah.
Which is absurd for Modern because there's so many decks that you could play.
But I mean, it was like the level 0 deck, it was like, oh, well, this is going to be good.
Yeah, I think, in the past you've definitely seen pros kind of have default decks. Like something like Zoo was like that in the past. Where it's just like, well, if I can't figure out, if I can't break the format, I guess I can always just fall back on this.
Right,
and that
exactly.
was Abzan for this tournament.
Yeah. So, fun facts. We did talk about Deflecting Palm earlier. It made the top 8 in Seth Manfield's sideboard. So, go Deflecting Palm. Now, you said that you were kind of surprised to see a Burn there. What do you out of these 2 lists?
I was just surprised to see 2 copies of Burn, and I was surprised to see how much Burn like you always wait for that one Pro Tour because everyone always either either they over-prepare for the red decks. You know, we've seen that in a couple of Pro Tours where the couple, I'm trying to remember which Pro Tour it was, where Esper was like the big breakout deck, where everyone was playing the Sphinx's Rev deck.
Right.
Where everyone in that form over-prepared for the red deck, and no one played it. You know what I mean?
Right.
In this case, though, it looks like everyone underprepared for the red deck, and everybody played it. If you were playing, Abzan, and you were playing, Burn was what, Hunter? Because I get the metagame breakdown as well. Burn was the second one with 11.8% of the field, and it was the only other deck in double digits. So it was pretty interesting to me. Now, I want to ask you a question about this top 8, Dave, because I felt like more than I watched pretty much the entire top 8. I missed Jacob Wilson's match.
You didn't miss much.
No.
Wait, his quarterfinals or semifinals?
Jacob Wilson lost in the quarters.
Oh, quarters, yeah. You didn't miss much.
I felt like this top 8 was really, really heavily like based on like what you were paired against. Like I feel like our winner, he had, once he got to the semis, like he had a much better matchup against Vigersma because his deck was just better. You know what I mean? Blood Moon was a blank, so he just better. And then the finals match was, I mean, that's a joke of a matchup. Let's be that's not me saying anything about the deck, and I have my own feelings about that deck. But in all reality, straight blue-red Splinter Twin with no fancy, that is a nightmare matchup for that Amulet combo deck.
Yeah, and it went just as they planned.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like both burn decks faced terrible matchups in the first round. So I just felt like the seedings of this. So like I can't think of another Pro Tour where the seedings mattered so much for how the matchups worked out, and that's modern in a nutshell as well. But,
yeah, I was just going to say that. I think that's just modern, and that's kind of it's kind of funny because like we interviewed Eric Froelich, and that was kind of like the complaint that he had about the format is just kind of like the variance is just. Or not, I guess it's not so much variance here, but it's just like the matchups. Like you can only do so much, against whatever decks you're trying to beat.
And it makes sense that he would be sitting here playing Abzan, which is the deck that can sort of play the middle of the road. You know what I mean?
Right. I do like before we get into, or I guess we're already kind of into the decks, but I just wanted to point out that so this is the fourth Modern Pro Tour that they've had since Modern became a format. In every single one of them, we've had a relative unknown win the Pro Tour. Every single time. So you had Samuel Estradi won the first one playing Twin. Nobody knew who he was before.
Right.
The second one was Stanislav Sivka, who he was actually as far as pro points and stuff like that, he was a gravy trainer, but nobody had really heard of him before. Maybe more in Europe you'd heard of him. And then we had Sean McLaren last year, which, I mean, maybe if you follow Magic Online people more, but I didn't know who he was.
Right.
And all three of those guys have kind of gone on to have successful careers as pros. And Antonio here won this Pro Tour. I had never heard his name before.
He's pretty young too.
Yeah, he's 20 years old. But maybe he has a bright future ahead of him. He definitely he played really well from what I saw. During the Swiss, I didn't think he was on camera at all. But
no, he played against Ryan Kibler round 4. Kibler said he played very well. So
yeah, I mean, honestly though, he had one of the, as far as matchups in the top 8, he had kind of he had maybe a tougher road than some of the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
He had to go through Li Shitian.
Yeah,
who this is his. He's actually top 8 at every single Modern Pro Tour.
Yeah, he is 100% in top 8s from Modern.
Yeah,
that's
unreal.
Top 8.
Yeah, and I think it's his third top 8 in the last calendar year.
Yeah,
that's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's 56 weeks. This is the third top 8 in 56 weeks or something like that, which is insane to think about. I wouldn't want to be paired against him if I were in the top 8 of a Pro Tour, which will never happen. But I wouldn't want it to happen.
That matchup was such a sweat too.
Final
matchup, Game 3, it came down to there were two draw steps where Li Shitian needed to draw a 3 damage burn spell, and he ended up drawing a Molten Rain.
Yeah,
which is
if you haven't watched that, that's actually one of the great moments of the Pro Tour. Yeah. If not a top deck Lightning Helix or what have you from previous Pro Tours or what have you. That's one of those matches to watch just to see great technical play.
Something about Li Shitian, though, he always seems to be involved in those crazy, really super tight, top deck games, or they just always get him on camera for those. But that was a really good match. And then Del Moral Leon played against Diogo Wiegersma in the semis, who Hall of Famer, obviously. And he was on camera a lot during the Swiss, and he was just like mowing through people every round.
He was the king of the hill. Yeah.
Yelger?
Yeah.
Yelger.
Okay.
Yeah. Not Jelger.
Those European languages, they like their Y's for J's.
Yes, they do.
Well, anyway.
But even then, like I said, once he gets there, like he's playing against solid opponents, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But his match is still like, he's playing in the mirror match, he's playing the better version of Twin.
Right, I agree with that.
He gets cake. Like, think about the difference between what happens in those if Justin Cohen doesn't, let's be very honest, hit the straight nuts off the top 4 cards of his library with an Avid Mind Sensor in play, then our opponent, now we're playing against Abzan? Now you're playing against Abrupt Decay and Thoughtseize?
Yeah.
All of a sudden that matchup is a lot more, and let's be quite honest, I'd much rather watch that matchup. No offense against the Amulet combo, but that is not a fun deck to watch at all.
No.
They seemed to enjoy it for a while, and then once they got into the finals, and he had a super complicated game 1.
Yeah.
Was just like, wait, can he kill him here? We don't really know.
That's when you want Matthias Hunt
Hunt
in the commentator's booth, because he's like,
he
sent out a tweet and he's like, here's a breakdown of how Cohen could have killed his opponent on turn 3, and it's like, it's a spreadsheet, and it's like, oh, okay, so I don't want to read this. It's like all filled in and all this stuff, and it's just like shows all the floating mana and all the red, white. No, just not a fan of that. But you would want him in the booth at that point to be like, this is how you do this. It's like, oh, okay.
It's also interesting point. You mentioned how long he was shuffling. He was playing really slowly as well, and they mentioned multiple times that he had a bunch of slow play warnings in the top 8. Like, the judges were telling him, you're about to lose this game. Do something. Because he was just, and that's not, I sound angry, I guess. It was annoying to watch. But playing in your first Pro Tour, I can't say that I would be making much more you know what I mean? But he was playing deliberately to the point of excruciation. You're just like, come on.
It's tough, man. That deck is not easy to play.
It isn't. It is not.
He seemed to, from what I've seen, he seemed to play it really well, and obviously, that was a deck that he knew really well going into the tournament. It's kind of the thing about Modern. We've talked about this in the past about kind of sticking with one deck or playing what you know, and I think in Modern it definitely shows. He even got Sam Black to play it, and Sam Black just barely missed top 8. He lost in the last round.
Hilariously, they had to play against each other in round 14, and they intentionally drew with the hopes of both of them winning and getting in, but Sam Black lost his winning in.
Right.
Yeah. Another prominent, no, that's not the right word. Another surprising cons card to show up in top 8, Feed the Clan. Nice sideboard tech. That
got that tech from Gerard Fabiano.
Oh, yeah, Jesse Hampton. Yeah, probably. So I'm going to talk about junk. You guys get wrecked. I don't know what to tell you. It's going to happen. It's in the top 8. We have to talk about it.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
Good. Great. I'm gonna take our listeners' advice and call the segment "Junk in the Trunk." There were 3 junk lists, Abzan lists.
3 minutes.
2 traditional ones, and then Eric Froehlich's list was a little bit interesting because he had Noble Hierarchs, but most of these other cards looked about the same. The more traditional list was definitely Jesse Hampton's, and he went higher. He went to the semifinals. His list is probably what you will most likely see going forward. 2 out of the 3 lists, though, were packing Leyline of Sanctity. I imagine for the burn matchup, that's a pretty good card against them. I don't think that really came... it probably came in against things like Valakut and stuff like that, too, where it just kind of blinks one of their win conditions. The surprising list is definitely Jacob Wilson's list, which is the Wiltleaf Liege Green White Splash Black for Lingering Souls and Thoughtseize. This is a list that you'll probably see, I imagine, a lot of pod players going to because they have most of the cards, and it uses Gavny Townships, and it plays a similar style. Probably a good matchup, too, if you expect a lot of burn there because you're playing things like Kitchen Finks. which is pretty fancy. Also crushes the mirror match a lot of the time with Gavany Township. Gavany Township is actually a card that kind of surprised me, and you'll probably see a lot in Junk. And something I'm probably going to pick up myself. I think that all the lists that show up here are pretty viable. It'll be interesting to see if Noble Hierarch continues to show up in main decks. That card seems like a great way to get ahead of the board of your opponent. But I'll be interested in maybe even trying it. But I think both the lists are kind of fine places to start tuning.
I think.
Well done.
I think Jacob Wilson's list is the one that's probably not going to be great moving forward, because they built that specifically to prey on the other Abzan decks, which was a great call for this tournament, obviously, with Abzan, I guess. Now, I guess this kind of would have been lumped in with the 28%, because they kind of just lumped all the Abzan decks. Guess. This isn't really the same thing, though.
No, and so it's kind of an unfair representation, because, I want to see how many actual traditional Abzan compared to the Woodleaf Liege builds were actually there. Because I definitely agree with you, because you building this deck sacrifices your Splinter Twin matchup 100%.
Right. But, I would say, I guess when we talk about traditional Abzan is like the Liliana version, I guess
correct.
We'll call it.
Liliana Tarmogoyf version, even.
Right. Yeah, this was more of just a green-white aggressive deck. But, I don't think it's very good. Especially, I think you're definitely going to see an uptick of Twin.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Definitely.
For sure. Probably see more of these Amulet decks.
Unfortunately, that is sort of the downside.
I mean, I've said in the past I didn't think that deck was very good. That being said...
Hey, it's pretty good for your opponent, if you remember your triggers.
Well, that being said, it did get a lot better with Delver not even being in deck anymore.
Yeah, leaving the
format.
There
was one Delver deck in the whole room of the Pro Tour. One. And we didn't see it at all. So no. I don't think it did very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so you have a lot less, Spell Pierces, Mana Leaks. We really didn't even see any kind of blue decks. I mean, Splinter Twin, I guess, is kind of control-y, but you didn't see any Jeskai controls or no Delvers.
It was pretty shocking. I mean, it was there in the tournament hall. You can see it in the breakdown, but just did not perform as admirably as many people had hoped or thought. Basically, another kind of breakout deck was the Infect deck. It doesn't top 8.
28 copies in day 2, though.
That is huge. Right,
or is this just the full? I'm sorry, it's not day 2. It's the full breakdown.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
That's fine. But yeah, Tom Ross went to this Pro Tour, it turns out, and his effects can be felt.
You got the whole pantheon playing Infect.
Mr. Ross goes to Washington.
Yeah, basically. Mr. Ross makes everyone sick because they all got infected.
Whoa, we start talking about measles all of a sudden?
No. I'm sure he's vaccinated. I'm not 100% positive, though.
This deck was super impressive on camera.
And, we kind of have to eat a bit of our crow on it. We didn't really think that it would necessarily get better.
We didn't believe, but we did say, well, Tom Ross is at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, that's correct.
We did call that.
John Finkel played this deck.
Yeah.
Which,
not Storm.
I mean, he didn't sleep with Storm in a Modern Pro Tour, right? It's scary. And he just missed top 8.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. So he had a feature match against Sam Black, I believe, in round 14. So there were 16 total rounds. Yeah, so round 14. And he had Gitaxian probed him either on turn 1 or turn 2, I believe. Saw that the coast was clear and went for the turn 3 kill. And Sam Black had naturally drawn the one Slaughter Pact in his deck to blow him out. It was just unreal. And I was rooting for Finkel because I'm always in root for Finkel. I just want to see him.
I want to see him in top 8 because he was playing Infect, and I love that deck.
Right. So it was unfortunate for him. Finkel ended up winning his last 2 rounds and finished 10th, I believe. So he was that close to making another top 8.
I think that the deck, people think that we can see that even in an Abzan dominated field, you can still just win with that deck because you can just kill people on turn 3.
I mean, Finkel had a feature match against your boy there.
Yeah, against Willie Idle.
Willie Idle, and it wasn't close.
Yeah.
Though I will say I did see other matchups where Infect against Abzan, and Lingering Souls was just a beating.
Lingering Souls is a beating, but
didn't auto win it, but it was just like bought it a ton of time.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all you need against Infect.
Yeah.
So that's still a viable choice. It's probably now a lot more expensive than it once was, and I apologize. But I'm okay with it. I have a lot of that deck kind of foiled out too, so I'm okay. Those prices can keep going up. I checked today. Foil breeding pools are definitely $50 on Star City Games. Definitely didn't pay that much for them. So yeah, I think that it's pretty exciting to see even though the top 8 may not have been diverse, it felt like there was just a lot of stuff that was going on that was surprising, like Infect and Burn and all that jazz. So, and the green white splash black deck, it may not be what we thought, but that's probably a good thing. It's a good thing that there were still these different decks that showed up, even though they kind of look like decks that we saw or have seen before. It's nice that they were there and people could see them get played. And Affinity was there. Frank Carson was there, and that you saw a deck sneaking in the top 8. Not top 8, but day 2. So that deck is still alive.
He was he did pretty well for a lot of the tournament. I think he fell off the last couple of rounds.
Yeah,
but he was in contention for a while.
Right.
So I don't know.
BBD played Tron.
Yeah, with Ugins.
Yeah, he said he didn't do very well, but he played it. It was played. There were still statistics on that deck, so it's pretty sweet.
So Mike, I looked this up. There were 0 blue-white Trons.
Yep.
That's surprising to me, actually.
It's surprising to me as well, honestly.
Yeah, I don't understand.
That deck has a great Abzan.
Crushes it.
Right,
So
yeah,
I
crushes
actually,
it.
I would never expect it to be some huge deck, but it is a deck that takes a lot of, I'm not saying I'm playing a really complicated deck, but it is a difficult deck to learn how to play. But I feel like it crushes Abzan. It just crushes it.
How's your Infect matchup?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I think I played against it one time.
Yeah.
I mean, Path to Exile is pretty important.
That could be what scared a lot of the. I know, any Team Pantheon.
I mean, to be fair,
maybe got scared away.
Infect has no way to stop Elishorn from happening.
True.
And Elishorn means that deck doesn't function.
But they can kill you on turn 3.
They can. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. It's scary, but
yeah.
I don't know, and I. So then you have to wonder how inbred the testing was. Then, did they know that Pantheon was on Infect? You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Let me back it up here. How's the Burn matchup?
Burn matchup is actually pretty good.
Okay.
You normally are not dead before Iona comes into play.
Right.
The matchup that's actually worse, it wasn't present pretty much the Pro Tour at all, is the red-black version, because normally you are at somewhere between 5 and 1 life when you cast Iona.
Yeah, Shahar Shenhar was playing the
against red-white version, it's just game over.
Yeah.
Against red-black version, sometimes you stabilize and then they draw Bump of the Night.
You get bumped.
Yeah, you have Spruik's favorite card, Bump of the Night.
But I definitely, I know it was tested. We have proof that it was a tested deck. I'm really not really that sure. It said it has a good Abzan matchup. I will say, and not that I know they tested this all, Twin can be a little bit rough. I'm sure they tested that.
Yeah.
And Amulet combo is probably not good. I've never actually played against it, but it's probably not a very good matchup. Hard combo that can go off on turn 2 before you can stick Iona is rough.
Yeah. I mean, I do think there's some merit though there if it has a good Abzan and Burn matchup. I mean, those are the 2 most played decks.
And also, I mean, and I guess it doesn't matter this Pro Tour, but its best matchup, the deck's best matchup by far in any of the metagames is straight blue red control. It is nearly unlosable.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is maybe they thought even though it was good against those 2 decks, Modern's so diverse, maybe it's not as good against a wide range of things.
And that's fair. And it's a deck that can it has so many one-ofs that you can just even in a good matchup at times just draw the clunky draw and not have enough time to get out of it. So yeah, I think it's a scary Pro Tour deck. I love playing the deck, but it's as a gifts deck it's very consistent. But as a control deck, I could see being afraid of it.
Yeah, we did see Merfolk popped up a little bit there.
Yeah, apparently the Merfolk player that was closest to top 8 punted pretty hard from what I understand.
Ooh. That's rough.
Really unfortunate.
Yeah, I didn't
So from what I understand, he was playing against
Italian guy.
Yeah, was he playing against Cohen? He was playing against Cohen or Sam Black. I don't remember, but he could have curse catchered his own pact that Hive Mind creates, and didn't know it.
Oh no!
So like he just died to the pact, and he could have just countered it, and it was just like, oh,
that's awkward.
So yeah.
Well, I mean that's one of those weird modern interactions.
Think about it. Like, when has that interaction ever happened? Like,
never.
You gotta feel bad for that player.
We saw Jesse Hampton Inquisition of Kozak himself to make his Tarmogoyf bigger to present lethal.
Hey, I did that at the Invitational with Tarmogoyf and beat a Storm opponent doing that. Thought myself, take this creature, make my guy big enough. You're dead. All right, look at that.
It's one of those things that could potentially come up.
Yeah, right. I felt really bad. Like I read that story and I was just like, oh, and like the person one of his teammates watching him was like, if you just sack the curse catcher, and he just like burn the deck,
burn it all,
burn it. But they're fit. I don't care. Burn them.
Oh man,
we're a little fish fry.
Just boil them.
Boil them.
Oh man. So. I guess we kind of talked about kind of where the format goes from here. We don't think that the Wilt-Leaf Liege deck will necessarily keep its prominence.
I can't see it. It's so bad against Twin.
It does probably have a pretty positive Abzan matchup. When you have a bunch of cards in your deck that say if you discard this, put it into play instead, makes Liliana feel real bad, real bad.
Yeah, I just don't see. I can't see traditional Abzan being that popular at any other tournament.
I think there's actually another reason for that too, because Modern's a really popular format, but a lot of the formats, the people that really like it the most, aren't normal Eternal players. Access to Goyf, Pro Tour, who cares? Everyone who wants Goyf is going to have Goyfs.
That's true.
But in a regular, if you're going to an SCG 5K, there's a large number of people there who couldn't afford Goyfs, couldn't afford Lilianas. You know what I mean? And they're going to play a different deck because of it. I mean, Dave, you play a different deck because you don't have Goyfs. And I play a different deck because I don't have Goyfs.
I don't have Goyfs, Lilianas, or Noble Hierarchs.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I play, not that my deck is cheap, you know what I mean? But it's not like that. You know
it's definitely a factor. Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So I think, Pro Tour, it doesn't matter. So if they all want to play Abzan, they can.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. Do we expect Burn to become more popular?
Yes. Yeah. Because that one is affordable.
Yeah, sure. $600 is affordable.
I mean, you can play all cons fetches at this point.
Yeah.
If you want to. You can get Arid Mazes, I guess. I mean, and you have Eidolons are still in standard, so yes, they're going to go up, but you can still get them. I mean, everything in this deck is easy to get, minus Goblin Guides right now.
Yeah. Goblin Guides. Let's see if those went up in cost. I own a few of those. They're pretty good.
They're pretty good. So I mean, outside of that, but when you're investing in one big card, or as Dave just said, the outside of even the mana base of Abzan, you know what I mean, the greatest hits of. You know what I mean? Hey!
I'm a fan.
Because don't forget, you could just play Mono Red Burn if you wanted to.
Yeah,
it's not even that big of a loss to just play Mono Red Burn.
Yeah, it looks like Goblin Guides are holding steady at around $20. So,
well, yours are maybe.
Oh no, mine are GP promo foils. As well.
Yours are?
Yeah.
Oh well, heck. I think I'm gonna get rid of mine this weekend.
Those are way more actually.
Those are $40.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and turn those into Snapcaster Mages this weekend.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think it's a better hold spec.
Probably.
I think I'd rather have Snapcaster Mages.
I think so too. I already have. I picked up my 3 for Splinter Twin that I'm trying to build. So
if I'm really cute, I might try to turn my Verdant Catacombs and Goblin Guides into some Scalding Tarns and Snapcaster Mages. We'll see though.
Ooh, that's nice.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't expect things to shift too much. Plus, when's the next big Modern tournament that's going to be happening? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Obviously a GP, but
there's a consistent 5K every weekend, so the format doesn't disappear. There's deck lists coming out every week. And you got some states and that sort of stuff coming forward. So yeah, it's frustrating. There's not a huge Modern event, and it's hey, no more Modern Pro Tours for another year. But
we do have there's a Star City Open.
Yeah, there's Modern
that's
Open.
a modern one.
That's
in
true.
Baltimore.
Yeah, there's a 10K.
And we still got Columbus to look forward to, which is a modern invitational.
Yeah.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I'm going to Ugin you, and I'm going to Ugin you. I'm sorry,
Gonna
Oprah, you
Ugin
get an
everybody.
Ugin. You get an Ugin. You all get exiled to Ugin.
Anyway, I didn't feel like there was that much innovation, but I think there is still a lot of obviously a lot of room in modern to brew. So,
but people just don't want to try. Like, it's just not.
No, we already talked about this. Like look at the way people responded to banning, and it's like okay, do something about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, did you not notice the amount? Like, we want to call Wiltleaf.deck, whatever you want to call it. It's really, really close to Podless Pod.
Yeah.
It's really close.
So that just mentioned in the bannings kind of made me think of something that I saw on Twitter, where it's like, do you feel like Wizards is creating this environment now where like people like are feeling bad that the deck that they play does well? So like all the Amulet players out there, right, that have been playing the deck forever, and you know when it was
spec.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, anybody that's been playing or that loves that deck, and you know there are some players out there that have that and that enjoy playing that. Do you think they felt bad seeing that deck do so well? That's like, oh man, now they're gonna ban Summer Bloom or something.
I would hope
now
not,
my deck's
but
not
it's
going to be
quite
playable.
possible.
But it's like, do you feel like Wizards is like kind of created this environment where like that's what happens? It's like, oh man, you can play your deck for a while, but if it starts doing too good, then we're just going to ban all the cards out of it. It's like don't invest too heavily.
They probably have, but I think that's also overblown too. Like there weren't any changes to Modern for almost a year. You know what I mean? Like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I was just saying, it was an interesting.
No, it definitely is.
There's
There's definitely that fear, but it's like, well, they're not gonna like. There's no reason to ban anything for the next one. Like the next announcement.
Right.
So, I think it's just gonna stay safe for a while.
But I wonder if it was premature of them to ban Dig Through Time. Like, I wonder what this Pro Tour would look like if Dig Through Time were legal.
Splittington did pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Escape Shift had a fair showing as well, and that card is really good there too. You could be right, but I think they predicted correctly that that you would have seen a lot of. We all. I just want to call it here. We all called that combo was going to be the big winner, especially going to the Pro Tour. And between Twin and Infect, Infect is a combo deck.
Yeah,
you want to pretend it's an aggro deck? It's
No.
not. It's a combo deck. It takes one thing and then tries to combine it with two other cards, and you die. It's not an aggro deck. Okay,
it does go big, but
and then you go home. So combos is a gainer, and if that was easy enough for us to go, oh yeah, combo's going to be good, then I'm sure Wizards was like, combo might be too good.
Yeah. I mean, like it's always like you just trying to maintain a balance between like all of the archetypes, if you will, and I think they do a pretty good job. I think leaving Dig Through Time on the table, it would have created a big imbalance. And a lot of people think that if you left Dig Through Time in there, then all the Delver decks would just go through and just play for Dig Through Time instead. And I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate. You have the most experience with the deck on this podcast, so maybe you could enlighten us on that. But I see that could have been like the issue, and like they wouldn't have fixed anything by just banning one over the other.
Right.
So I think that's pretty much it for the Pro Tour. I would have to say that like a lot of the coverage was just in general enjoyable. Ian Duke did a lot to actually make that true, so I appreciate him for that, even though he'll never listen to this. But this weekend we still have some exciting events. So we have the Standard Open in Houston. So we'll have more deck lists from that. Hopefully, maybe something new and exciting, some innovation, or some minor tweaks.
Yes, a bunch of level 19 characters fighting in Warsong Gulch with the best gear from
correct
Wailing Caverns.
Something like that. I don't
know.
Okay. Tweaks to standard lists. There's also a 5K in Cleveland at the CSU Wolstein Center.
The Wolstein Center, home of the Cleveland State Vikings.
Oh, Well,
actually,
is that a real team?
They're actually a really good basketball team.
Oh.
For being a team that's not in a major conference, they're actually pretty good.
Oh, okay.
It's like them and Butler out of that conference. Go to the dance every year. Look at that.
Look at you telling us about sports and stuff.
My house.
There's also an IQ in Michigan. On Star City Games' website, it says it's in Battle Creek, Michigan, at BC Comics. That's the information that I have.
Those are the guys with the orange shirts, right?
I have no idea.
I think we see them a fair amount.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Well,
that's where Morgan should be going this weekend.
It's like 4 hours away.
What do you want to do?
I should already be queued.
Well, call and make sure I've told you how to go about this.
Okay. Actually, you gave me an email and told me to call.
And I gave you a person's name, too. Have you ever called Star City? They're actually really good about connecting you who you want to talk to.
All right. Well, maybe I'll do that.
Maybe.
So
maybe he'll do that.
So I don't have to go 4 hours away.
Don't you want to be queued for Columbus?
Yeah.
Then go!
I have time.
Oh, you got to queue for Richmond.
Yeah, well, I'm saying once he queued for Richmond, then he shouldn't just stop collecting points.
I won't stop collecting points.
I wish I could give you some of my extra invitations that I have.
Wow, me too.
I have like 6.
Oh man, we gotta go. Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm serious.
The other 2 people on this podcast could go die in a fire. For all I care.
I still wouldn't give you our invitationals.
Doesn't matter.
Can we bequeath them in our will?
I don't think that's how that works. I'm pretty sure there's a strict...
I leave my Star City Games invitationals to Morgan McCarl.
I'm pretty sure that SCG has a very strict non-transferable policy.
But he died. We don't care.
That's less people that we have to worry about.
Can you just register me for the tournament then? Weekend of Bernie's meet? Sadly, because we had this conversation this weekend.
You probably play Manaless Dredge. I'm sure.
We will see where I go this weekend to play Magic.
Ooh, the mystery.
I don't want to drive 4 hours away at all whatsoever for a $30 payout to top 8 in PAX IQ. That sounds actually miserable to me. I'd rather go 2 hours away for the $35 5K that pays out the top 32.
Yeah, you cashed the last one, so...
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait. But at least you got a point.
Yeah.
Points are valuable.
They are. Some people.
Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't care. I got 4 extra points. I put them in my wallet, I guess.
I mean, we'll see. It's a long drive. It's a lot of money to drive there and back. All right. Well, that has been another fantastic episode of At Your End Step. We'll catch you guys next week. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.